Have you ever been sucked in by an infomercial? You hear the big claims, know you're being manipulated, then think, maybe I do need that.
Big retailers don't want you to have this zoom lens, but there's nothing they can do to stop it. It's already banned from Home Depot, Amazon, Walmart, all those big box stores for being too powerful.
Does that make you just a little curious? Be honest now. I'm Paul Haavardsrud. Welcome to The Cost of Living. We get bombarded with advertising. Most of it is like wallpaper. It just blends into our day. But not always. Later in the show, we'll look at how some ads manage to wiggle their way into our consumer brains. And why I almost bought the ST Scope 360. And turning to Finland. In Finnish, the word kalsarikanat, loosely translated, means getting drunk at home in your underwear. Canadian 20-somethings are not picking up kalsarikanat as the hot new trend. They're into another Finnish hobby, sauna. Up first, Canada is looking at how we can future-proof the economy. All kinds of ideas are being put on the table. And some of them, turns out, we've tried before. A few weeks ago, we talked about the idea of an all-Canadian car company. It would be a nation-building project and a way to take the wheel back from Trump and his tariffs. Flavio Volpe, the head of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, told us it's the kind of big swing this country needs.
If we don't take this moment where we've spent the last 4 or 5 months defending what is valuable and great about Canada and try something new and ambitious and different, we'd be letting down our kids and our grandkids who were convincing that the auto sector is worth having.
Listeners heard him say that, Jen Keane?
And they wrote us, they called us, Paul, to tell us that, you know what? We did have a Canadian car company.
Well, we have had a bunch.
We have, but this one isn't ancient history. Just 20 years ago, there was an EV startup called the Zenn Motor Company. Zenn. It stood for Zero Emissions, No Noise.
So we've been down this road before. No pun intended. Maybe there are some lessons here? I mean, tell us about the Zenn.
Okay, so it was the brainchild of Ian Clifford, and like a lot of ideas, it came to him when he was stuck in traffic. He was really sick of driving his fossil fuel-burning car around Toronto at a snail's pace. So he thought, I'm going to buy an electric car. But there wasn't anything for him to buy.
So in my infinite wisdom and with my partners at the time, I was like, well, let's start a Canadian car company and build electric vehicles. So it was a pretty heady moment, and we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into.
You probably want to be just a little bit ignorant if you're thinking, I'm going to start a car company and compete with GM.
Right? It's a big leap. But they did it. They came up with a concept for a small EV based on the kind of tiny two-seater vehicles that you might find bombing around Europe.
We thought, well, this is brilliant, because if we're going to create a vehicle, why not create a vehicle that is specifically designed for urban use? The amount that people drive in any given day, lent itself specifically to an urban car design.
So what they did is they brought over the gliders for these French micro cars, which are like the chassis without the engines in them, and then they put their own battery tech in them.
Pretty sure that's how Tesla started. They got like Lotus chassis.
Yeah, same thing. But nobody else in Canada was doing this. So Ian says there was a lot of excitement around the company.
At our peak, we had close to 5,000 shareholders around the world. And we were a small, Toronto Venture Exchange listed company, but there was a tremendous amount of interest in just this little Canadian upstart auto company, trying to make an impact into EVs.
So they were early into electric vehicles.
Yeah, they rolled out the first Zenn 4 years before the Nissan Leaf came out. But there was one big difference between them because the Zenn was designed as a city car only. It didn't go very fast. It maxed out at around 40 kilometers an hour.
Well, that seems like a problem.
It was a problem for Canadian regulators because we have rules around what you can drive on the road, obviously, safety requirements. And the Zenn had to be approved for sale by Transport Canada. And that didn't go so well.
Because we ran into an inspector at Transport Canada who had an absolute hate on for low-speed vehicles. He thought that they were ridiculous. They had no place on the road. So that was the first hurdle.
It took them months to get approval from Transport Canada. But then, because the provinces are responsible for regulating roads, they had to get approval from each one of the provinces as well.
Okay, well, as they were working through all that regulatory stuff, what were they doing? Were they building cars?
Yeah, they were building about 100 cars a month in their factory in Saint-Jérôme, Quebec. And they were selling them in Europe and the U.S., mostly in places like California and Florida. Jason Brownell actually drove one, and he sold them. He runs a golf cart dealership in Orlando.
It was great. I mean, the driving was fun. It was like driving a go-kart around. It was sort of a novelty.
And unlike golf carts, you could actually have air conditioning in it. It was all enclosed, so.
A plus for Florida. And, down there they have all those gated golf course communities.
Yeah, so it was kind of perfect for that. But you could drive it anywhere in Florida. Like Jason drove his Zenn all over the city, and he does admit it got a bit tricky at times.
Yes, I got honked at a couple times. I got kind of cut off a couple times. One in particular was a big monster truck type, lifted truck. I thought he was going to literally run over me, not just run me off the road.
Not good.
I don't want to be in a Zenn beside an American monster truck. I've just decided that right now.
Yeah.
But if this car did get approved here, what about its chances in the market? Is there demand for a micro car that can only go 40K?
It's hard to say. It was eventually approved for sale in BC and Quebec, and they sold some there. But in this country, we like big cars. I mean, more than 80% of all cars sold here are trucks and SUVs. And the Zenn was priced at around $15,000, which at the time, that was what you would have paid for a new Honda Fit.
Yeah, but a Toyota Yaris, they're highway ready.
Yeah, Ian Clifford and Zenn did have plans to build a bigger, faster EV. The company just ran out of money before they could build it. So the last Zenn rolled off the line in around 2010.
Okay, then if we look at the experience of the Zenn, can Flavio Volpe, the auto industry, take anything away from what happened with that car?
Well, I talked to Dimitri Anastakis about that. He's a business historian at the U of T who specializes in the auto industry. And he says the thing to know is that starting a car company is a big, expensive gamble.
To develop a single car in today's marketplace is usually $2 to $4 billion. It's a big bet. It takes years. And if you make the wrong bet, you can go bankrupt.
And we've seen other examples of this in Canada. In the 1970s, there was the Bricklin. There was a sports car called the Manic. Have you ever heard about that one?
Manic was cool looking.
It was very cool looking. It was very swoopy in the front. It was produced in Quebec in 1971 for 1 year.
Yeah, there's always these dreamers out there, like the people coming up with a Manic or whatever. They think, I'm going to start a car company. Jeff Bridges was in that movie. What was that movie with Jeff Bridges?
Oh, Tucker?
Yes,
Tucker, that movie?
The man and his dream, but the dream didn't work.
Yeah, but great movie. Nonetheless, you think of all the other car companies that have gone under, like DeSoto, AMC, DeLorean.
There's a reason that by the time you get to the 1980s in North America, before the Japanese arrive, there's really only a big three, because only huge car companies that have hundreds of thousands of employees, that have billions of dollars of revenues coming in and the ability to do this can make cars. It's really, really, really hard to do.
Hard, but also possible. I mean, Tesla's the obvious example. BYD out of China, they're apparently selling like gangbusters. They have a lot of government support.
A lot of government support.
A lot of subsidies there. But you look at what's happening with EVs, the EV revolution, a lot of things are changing. When things are in flux, feels like there could be opportunity.
Maybe. I mean, sometimes it's just about timing or government support. But Ian, 20 years ago, he really believed that Zenn had a shot.
I think we were very, very well poised to become, a global superpower as it related to electric vehicles. And you saw Tesla do it because they were getting the level of support from the American government to scale that rapidly. Again, we were a few years ahead of that curve, but I think it could have happened. And I think there's no reason why it can't happen into the future.
That's pretty much the pitch we're hearing from Flavio Volpe.
It wouldn't be easy, but as Flavio says, we do have the raw materials, we have the skills, and it seems like there's a different attitude in Canada right now.
Well, yeah, 20 years ago, we didn't have Trump, we didn't have tariffs, we didn't have this talk of nation building. And there also seems to be a kind of a willingness these days to want to say yes to things, maybe even a recognition that we have to say yes to more things.
Yeah. Maybe somebody wants to bring back the Manic, the sports car.
I'd drive a Manic.
You would look good in a Manic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On your Radio NBI podcast, this is The Cost of Living. I'm Paul Haavardsrud. We all just want something to do. That's part of why people go to coffee shops. And look at the rise of board game cafes, axe throwing, karaoke. All of this gives us a place to spend our time and money. And the latest hot trend, especially among 20-somethings, well, it's hot. Like, really hot.
Nina Hall is ladling water infused with eucalyptus over a bed of hot rocks. Nina recently opened a sauna in Calgary where people pay to sweat it out before plunging into a jet tub filled with water that's as cold as ice. Woo-wee!
This is the coldest one. So this one is 5.5 degrees. Then we've got a 7.5 degree.
Now, this kind of hot and cold therapy has been around since the ancient Greeks. Believers say it boosts energy and is good for sore muscles and stress relief.
Some people are going to sauna for the health benefits.
Sauna, sauna.
Sauna. That's how it's pronounced in Finland.
Sauna.
You got it.
Yes. Alan Jalasja lives in Waterloo, Ontario, and he's the global ambassador for Finland's Sauna Business Association. Yep, that's a thing.
I probably visit 50 to 100 different saunas a year.
In Canada, Alan says sauna is a growing trend.
Just from the quantity of public saunas, it's probably doubled in the last 10 years.
Canada's first Nordic spa opened in 1999. Today, there are 23 across the country in places like Whistler and Mont-Tremblant. But Alan says right now, the real growth is in small commercial operations, like mobile saunas.
It essentially brings sauna to the people. It brings it to places you might not normally think of. You could be going to a football game and there's a tailgate party and there's a sauna sitting out there.
This year, Canada hosted its first sauna summit. And when I spoke to him, Alan had just landed in Helsinki for the World Sauna Forum, also known as
the most relaxing business event in the world.
The wellness industry is now estimated to be worth nearly $2 trillion globally. And a lot of that is being driven by Gen Zeds. Cindy Chan teaches marketing at the University of Toronto.
It's definitely a trend that we've been seeing in the younger generation of prioritizing physical and mental health, also reducing alcohol consumption.
In other words, Gen Zeds are putting down the tequila shots and going out less to clubs.
All of this suggests that, people might be looking for a new social space that can't be met through ways that previous generations may have socialized, like at a pub.
That's where Nina Hall's new sauna comes in. It's called the Offline Wellness Club. Nina says it's a place where you can put away your phone and have deep and meaningful conversations. Or not.
We have antisocial hours, so unwinding, relaxing, talking a little bit softly and more quiet, but then also having those hours where you can be loud, you can come with a group of friends.
So what's it cost to go for a schvitz? A drop-in, which runs about an hour, is $45. Nina says it's cheaper than a night at the bar, and you don't wake up with a hangover.
And looking at our credit card statements at the end of the month, seeing where we're spending money, it feels a lot better looking at money spent that's doing something good for our bodies and for our minds.
For The Cost of Living, I'm Danielle Nerman.
Coming up next week, Canada has a shortage of skilled trade workers. It doesn't seem to be improving, but some people do have a plan, and it starts with changing how kids feel about shop class.
If society's noise, so to speak, is all about trades not being an attractive career, and you are in a school that has no shop, then you're not going to be exposed to any other rhetoric than that which you and your parents and others are hearing. And it's only sometimes when you expose kids to all the different options that you see light bulbs go off.
Changing the stigma around shop class. That's next week. This is The Cost of Living. Listen to us on CBC Radio 1 or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Paul Haavardsrud. So I clicked on a YouTube video the other day. And you know how YouTube works. Before you see what you want to see, you have to sit through an ad.
Scope 360 and it's wild.
It was for something called the ST Scope 360. It's basically like super powerful binoculars.
Originally developed for the Canadian Special Forces, this compact zoom lens lets you zoom in on stuff miles away. And the kicker? It takes photos and videos with this insane clarity.
I start paying more attention. Then I start thinking, maybe I do need military-grade optics that magnify 30 times more than other binoculars. We're inundated with advertising. It's everywhere online, on TV, billboards. Most of it is trying to get us to buy stuff we don't want or need. But some ads do grab your attention. Like this one for the ST Scope 360, with its pulsating music. Bump, 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 buy, buy, buy. And the narrator, his voice.
Gives kind of like an ominous, kind of foreboding vibe to it, so it kind of makes you want to keep listening.
Colin Campbell is a marketing professor at the University of San Diego. He researches the tactics online advertisers use to sell us stuff. Now, advertisers do all kinds of things to manufacture desire among potential buyers. They use consumer psychology, tried and true marketing tactics, AIDA, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. I asked Colin if he could break down the strategies this ad for the ST Scope 360 uses to try to sell us. And let me please just say here, this is not an endorsement for this product. It's just about the ad. And this infomercial, it throws a lot of stuff at the wall. And that starts from the very first second.
Big retailers don't want you to have this zoom lens, but there's nothing they can do to stop it. So there's this new super powerful monocular, and it's got the zooming power of a military-grade sniper scope. It's already banned from Home Depot, Amazon, Walmart, all those big box stores for being too powerful. And now the company...
So what's going on here? Besides this monocular being too powerful?
Two big things. So first big one is it's telling you that it's banned. And if you think about it, like as soon as you can't get something, you immediately want to get it. And so we're seeing that like that's happening right off the bat in this ad, is that they're telling you that this is a product that has been banned, and immediately it's probably getting your attention and making you think, what exactly is that?
And not just banned, but banned by Home Depot, Amazon, Walmart. And Colin says name-checking those stores isn't an accident.
It's triggering people to think about those particular brands. Anybody who's the top dog in a marketplace is not going to do that, but somebody who's like lower down is likely to do that because they want to draw that comparison between those other retailers.
Home Depot, Amazon, they have brand power. The hope is that just by mentioning their names, a little of that brand power will rub off. So the ad likes big retailers until it doesn't.
And now the company behind it is cutting out the middleman, selling over 1.5 million units in the last month, all without those big retailers who just jack up the price tag.
So why turn around and throw shade at big retailers?
There's been a lot of brands that have come through and basically tried to, sell the idea that direct-to-consumer is going to be cheaper. It's kind of a compelling narrative that consumers kind of buy into, which kind of makes sense to some extent, that there is potential savings if you can take out that middle person or the middle retailer and the margins that they've got as well too.
Not only have they cut out the middleman, but the ad also claims they sold over 1.5 million units in the last month.
So what you're seeing there, that's social proof. And so if 1.5 million people have bought it this month, it tells us it's probably good, it's probably decent, we're not going to get ripped off. It's like if you look at a video on YouTube and it's got 10 million views, you're going to expect that it's likely a good video, right? Whereas if it only has 10 views, you're going to be much more, suspicious about the quality of whatever it is you're looking at.
So millions of people, just like us, have allegedly bought this thing. And in some ways, we can be like lemmings. We follow the crowd. That's one way this ad tries to gain our trust. And then it goes ahead and does some more name dropping.
Now, this thing has been featured on Global TV, CTV, City TV, you name it. But here's the kicker. Some folks are saying...
It's almost like an endorsement. It's unclear if they were advertising on them or if they were actually featured as like a review. The effect is that you go, oh, like it's legitimized by these particular TV, stations. And therefore it seems more legit. It seems more likely to be a good quality product.
So it's sprinkling itself with that sweet CTV fairy dust. But the steady stream of subtle messages and playing on our consumer psychology doesn't stop there. This ad for the ST Scope 360 is relentless. That's a feature of infomercials in general, including this one.
Here's the kicker. Some folks are saying it could be banned soon. Why? Because the Product Safety Committee thinks civilians shouldn't have access to something so powerful, something designed for military
They don't want us to have this, people. Colin says this is another common infomercial tactic because marketers know we don't like the feeling of not being able to have something.
People absolutely hate losing things. Basically, you're losing the chance to be able to buy it because it might get banned. It's unclear to me why a zoom lens would want to get banned, but it makes people probably interested because they don't want to lose out on the chance to be able to buy it.
Colin says this ad is like taking a wheelbarrow full of marketing tactics and then tipping it over onto potential buyers. When Colin steps back and looks at what this ad is trying to do in totality, he says it is very deliberately taking us through the purchase journey. This is something a lot of advertising does. Just like any good story, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
That's always kind of like what you need to do. So first, you're grabbing your attention with the fact that it's going to be banned and that other people won't sell it. Then they're going through and they're telling you a bit more about why it is you might particularly want to buy it. And then usually what happens then is people run into sort of the counter arguments. Is it actually good quality? Do I actually really need it? Is it going to work? And they're kind of hitting that with the allusions to the military and talking about that. And they're also talking and sort of reinforcing what it is it can do. I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing we might see something coming up with like a promo or limited time offer or something in the closer as well too, because that's likely going to be something that's going to push people toward purchase.
Oh yeah, he's right.
You can get it at half price today. Thousands have already jumped on this promo. Just fill out your shipping info and they'll send you the STS scope at 50% off. But remember, this is a limited time deal.
Now, Colin says what really top-notch marketing will do, if it can, is offer independent third-party verification, like an endorsement from Wirecutter. The ST Scope 360 doesn't build that kind of trust, so you're kind of left wondering, is this a piece of junk? But overall, if Colin were to give it a letter grade,
this is an A. This is a very, very well done ad. It's effective. It catches your attention. It probably keeps your attention throughout most of it. And at the end, it has a very strong call to action. Click now, learn more now before it's too late.
I didn't buy it, but it made me think about it. And maybe I do need this. I mean, it is a military-grade monocular. And I did learn a few things I want to share with you. But only you, and just right now. They don't want you to subscribe to our podcast, but we'll give it to you absolutely free. And here's the kicker. 8 billion people could potentially listen. Do you want to not be one of them? Act now, before it's too late. Cost of Living is based in Calgary. The show is produced by Danielle Nerman, Blair Sanderson, and Jennifer Keane, with help from Jeff Kynock. I'm Paul Haavardsrud. Thanks for listening.
Check it out ASAP. Click the button below to grab yours at half price.